Hello everybody, it's Edward and I back again. I know what you're thinking, you'd like a lot more Edward and a lot less Clark, and I don't blame you for that. We want to once again reach out and touch base with folks who are considering arriving on the Outer Banks. It's this Saturday, Edward and I are up in Corolla, and we want to speak to everybody about helping you make the decision to arrive on the Outer Banks. Now we're going to get fairly specific today. Edward, in the past, as you and I know, the Outer Banks has either been open or it hasn't been after a hurricane. And when we say Outer Banks, we mean Duck and Corolla, Nag's Head, Kill Devil Hills, and all points in between. Having said that, what we're learning from Dorian's departure is that we may see a very specific reentry process. Now, Edward, as we say specific and we talk about Dare and Currituck County, if you are considering traveling to the Outer Banks, what does that mean for us?
Well, when you talk about Dare and Currituck County specifically, because we know a lot of you have come for years, and you may not know that there is a distinction between Duck and Corolla, for instance. And if in the town of Duck, there is a curve right there by the Sanderling Inn, right where the town of Duck limits start, and that's on the north end of the town of Duck. That is where you have a separation between Currituck County and Dare County. Everything north of that point, including Pine Island and all points north up to the North Carolina-Virginia line and Corova Beach, all of that is Currituck County. Everything south of that is Dare County. All the way down to Ocracoke Island is where you start another county called Hyde. But for our purposes, what we're seeing is a very different approach to the reentry process. And there are some things that we need to talk about concerning those. Right now, residents and property owners are being allowed into Dare County north of Oregon Inlet. Now, that's no guests at this time, just residents and property owners. For Currituck, we got a different situation going on north of the town of Duck. Would you like to talk about the power issue that we have?
Absolutely. So we do anticipate some access across the Currituck Bridge, and that's into the town of Kitty Hawk. That's the area around Walmart and Home Depot. Now, as you head north into Currituck, we're bumping into a problem. We have confirmed reports from the elected leadership in northeastern North Carolina and Currituck County right now about a catastrophic power failure that is impacting not only the lower mainland Currituck County, but particularly the Currituck Outer Banks. That's again going from that line around the curve at the Sanderling all the way north. Now, this power outage is particularly impacting areas around that food line area in Corolla north. So we're getting very specific now. The short version with this power outage, Edward, you and I are hearing the same thing. It is projected to last several days. There is no timeline right now for restoration. Power, now what that also means is when we don't have power, it's getting a little technical, but we have a reverse osmosis plant in the Currituck Outer Banks, and that's how we make our water. The tanks were full on that RO plant, but with no power, we are unable to make more water. So right now we have what could be a water restriction in place. So we're compounding a power outage with a potential water restriction. So having said that, lots of other emergency ways to get to the water. We don't want to be alarmist. We can bring in water and things like that. But having said that, Edward, with no power and no water, there's no fun.
Yeah, and additionally, if there is no power or water to a rental home, we cannot rent that home out. That is not a habitable structure to stay in. So that puts us into another situation as well. So you may be hearing some reports of power in service in the Pine Island area, parts of Southern Ocean Sands. But again, those areas are also serviced by a county-wide water system that is that reverse osmosis plant. And so that does compound the situation. Anywhere north of the food line area, all the way to the Virginia line, is affected by this catastrophic outage. And we've just learned this information officially, and there's no guarantee of power restoration for a few days.
Edward, I think the takeaway is, in storms past, the Outer Banks is open for business again, all the way from Ocracoke all the way back up to the Virginia line. For Dorian, that won't be the case. It will be very specific, in some cases community specific. So I think we'd encourage everybody to stay in touch with Twitty.com. Pay particular attention to where you're staying on the Outer Banks, because that could make all the difference. Is that a fair takeaway?
Yes, and I don't think we can overstate the access issues that we have right now. For instance, I myself, Edward, I am a resident of the Currituck Outer Banks. I cannot travel right now to Duck and Dare County and return legally. Right now, even residents and property owners are not allowed access into Currituck county. So, for instance, I'm just having to stay put up in this area.
So I think the takeaway is we do anticipate at some point in the coming hours some ability to access Dare County. Currituck remains a big question mark. So that area north of the Sanderling, big question mark. Even if they were to lift part of that, there still may very well be a power and water issue. The takeaway is an intricate re-arrival process or arrival process to the Outer Banks as compared to storms past. Stay tuned to Twitty.com, Twitty Facebook for exact details. Reach out to us via email if you'd like for specific questions. Edward and I will stay on the ground. Edward, anything else or anything I've forgotten?
No, just that we will pass the information along as we get it, just as we're doing right now.
If you'd like to make a donation to the Outer Banks Community Foundation, we'd encourage you to do so. www.obcf.org, Outer Banks Community Foundation, obcf.org. Thank you for everything, for watching our videos, for staying engaged, for sharing your feedback with us. We appreciate your business, and we look forward to welcoming you back to the Outer Banks when it's safe to do so.